Today's story is an adaptation from The Athletic. If you like it, go and subscribe at theathletic.co.uk/Tifo Football to read more stories that you won't find anywhere else. Increasingly, football is lending itself to plenty of analysis using numbers, but the availability of data doesn't always ensure that it's properly applied. Here are 10 mistakes which are commonly made, and the best way to correct them. 1. Using save percentage to evaluate a goalkeeper's shot-stopping ability. The equation for save percentage is shots saved per total shots faced. There's no accounting for the difference in the type and quality of shots that a goalkeeper faces, which will have a large impact on his ability to make a save, and therefore the save percentage. Goalkeeper X facing 10 shots from inside the 6-yard box is going to have a tougher time making saves compared to goalkeeper Y, who's facing all of his 10 shots from 30 yards out or more. Expected goals and its cousin, expected goals on target, tell us that shots from further out are less likely to result in a goal, and shots that are either right at the keeper or down the middle are far more likely to be saved. By equally weighting each shot to calculate save percentage, we are doing a disservice to goalkeeper X and making goalkeeper Y look better than they actually might be. Instead, comparing the quality of on-target shots by using expected goals on target, or post-shot expected goals, to the number of goals conceded adds much needed context to a goalkeeper's numbers. Goals prevented tells us how many goals a goalkeeper saved, given the quality of the shots that he's faced, compared to the average goalkeeper. Through doing this, as the graphic shows, Martin Dubravka looks far better than his save percentage says that he is. And Vicente Guaita looks like a world beater. 2. Conflating distance or sprint stats with effort. Premier League clubs have had access to tracking data since 2013-14, and as part of that deal, the media get access to derived outputs too. Up to this point, all we've really seen is distance and speed statistics. And these numbers are some of the most contextless around, yet they're used frequently when analysing teams and players. But they shouldn't be. Firstly, there's no correlation between the distance run and the likelihood of winning a game. The amount of distance covered in a finite amount of time is only useful in a time trial, which football is not. From last year's UEFA technical report on the Champions League, Shakhtar Donetsk ran the furthest on average of all 32 teams in the competition, yet finished third in their group and crashed out of the Europa League in the round of 32. Manchester United ran the second least on average, yet were still able to reach the quarter-finals. Secondly, distance and sprints are stylistic, as in the number that players accumulate will be linked to what is asked of them, the system they play in, how the opposition sets up, game state and various other factors. Without controlling for, or at least mentioning, these other factors, these numbers don't give us much insight. And finally, there's also some evidence to suggest that running less actually can be beneficial. Just ask Lionel Messi. Most players have the fitness levels to last a full game, but the manipulation of space is what matters. Similarly, there have been plenty of quick players to have played the sport, but the very best know when to use their pace. Very rarely do players need to beat another in a foot race, but it's quick bursts of speed to get past someone, or latching onto the end of a loose ball that's the key. 3. Using possession as an indicator of quality. As Marty Perarnau puts it in Pep Confidential, possession is only a means to an end. It's a tool, not an objective or an end goal. Leicester City won the league averaging 42.6% of possession in 2015-16. Manchester City won the league last season averaging 67.7% of the ball. In essence, it doesn't matter how much you have, but instead what you do with it. Winning the possession battle doesn't really give us much information beyond how teams set up to play, and in-game can be entirely dictated by the scoreline. In Atletico Madrid's 1-0 victory recently against Liverpool in the Champions League, for example, after a 4th-minute goal, Atleti set up shop, having just 27% of possession. That figure may have looked entirely different had Atleti not scored early on. Possession is still a useful nugget of information to understand which side had more of the ball, but it's not a statistic with which to argue over superiority. Expected goals is a far better indicator of the quality of a team. 4. Judging a player's defensive ability by the number of tackles and interceptions they make. Not all the defending that a player does is tangible, and the measurable output that can be counted is often biased by a team's style. Logically, if a team has less possession, they have more opportunities to defend, and vice versa. For that reason, tackle and interception numbers are better indicators of defensive style, i.e., is the player passive or active, and not just necessarily the defensive quality of the player. Virgil van Dijk attempts just 0.76 tackles per 90 minutes, and yet no one would make the case that that makes him a poor defender. 5. Using tackle win rate to judge a player's tackling ability. Tackles are usually split into two categories, those that are won and those that are lost. Winning a tackle consists of a player winning back possession when challenging for the ball, while losing a tackle sees a challenge take place but without the ball being won back. Losing a tackle could be due to the ball being poked out for a throw-in for the opposition, the ball knocked loose for the opposition to recover, or for some other reason. Tackle win rate is currently defined as tackles won per tackles won and tackles lost. What this currently tells us is the proportion of tackles that a player makes where his team wins the ball back. Of fullbacks in the Premier League with the highest tackle win rate, Martin Kelly is the best with 80% of tackles won. The eye test suggests that Aaron Wan-Bissaka should be amongst the top players, yet he's only 11th. But using true tackle win rate can provide more clarity by incorporating missing categories with the equation of total tackles per total tackles plus challenges lost plus fouls when attempting a tackle. Through this metric, Wan-Bissaka is top with 78.9% true tackle win rate, and Martin Kelly is down in 29th, which is much more accurate. 6. Using goals minus expected goals as an indication of finishing ability in small samples. When it comes to understanding goal-scoring ability, there are two crucial elements that need to be considered and judged in isolation. The first is a striker's ability to generate chances for himself. Goals are a striker's main currency, and to score goals, strikers need to take shots. To measure the quality of these shots, we use expected goals. If a player consistently gets into good goal-scoring positions, over time, goals will come. Now, it's one thing taking shots, and it's another thing to finish them. In small samples, such as a whole season, a player's goals and XG may not match up. Take Roberto Firmino. This season, he's scored fewer than you'd expect given the chances he's had, yet it's been his best in terms of getting into great goal-scoring positions. Firmino's 3 prior seasons at Liverpool have seen him score above, below, and on expectation. Now, this isn't enough data to give any concrete conclusions on his finishing ability. 7. Judging a team's performance with or without a given player. With or without stats are intended to isolate the impact of a single player in a team to see how results change with that player involved compared to when they're missing. These stats can work in sports with smaller segments to analyse, such as basketball, which has more lineup changes and is far higher scoring. In football, however, there are just far too many moving parts for this to be a good way of analysing if a player is any good or not. There are too many variables. What was the quality of the opposition? What was the quality of the other players playing alongside the missing player? Was there a red card or some other anomaly? Instead, it's better to analyse players within the context of their position and focus on just what they can control. For creative midfielders, that's chance creation. For strikers, it's goal scoring, and so on. 8. Judging a player's pass ability on his passing accuracy. The degree to which a player's passing is accurate or not depends a lot on what they're being asked to do, and the choices they make when they're on the ball. Some teams, such as Manchester City, play the ball very short and in certain areas of the field under little pressure. Due to this, they'll have a high pass completion rate. Others, like Burnley, look to hit to the channels and use longer passes instead of shorter ones, passes that are, on average, less likely to be completed. It's not a descriptive, and while expected pass completion rates may give a more rounded view of why a player's pass completion rates are low, that data is relatively sparse in the public domain. 9. Judging players who fail a lot. An obvious one. Every season, the Golden Boot winner in every league will fail to score more times than they succeed in doing so. In most cases, clearly, if the focus is on how many times a player has failed, it's worth turning that into a percentage to add more context. Have they failed a lot, or is it that they've tried to do something far more than other players? And 10. Comparing players who've played different numbers of minutes. Players who play more minutes have more chances to do things on the field that are counted. By not putting all players on a level playing field in terms of minutes played, it means that those who have played less will nearly always look worse. As an example, by adjusting for minutes played, Norwich City's Emiliano Buendia is actually the second best chance creator in the league on a per 90 basis, 3.3 per 90. Instead, by adjusting stats per 90 minutes played, that is dividing the stat by minutes played per 90, players who have played differing numbers of minutes can have their numbers compared and more fair comparisons can be made. The script for this video, written by Tom Warville, was originally featured on The Athletic, the best place to read about football online. Whether it's more behind-the-scenes insight, dedicated local reporting about your team, or rich storytelling from around the world, you'll find it all in one place. And if you like today's video, you can read much more of Tom's analytics work. So, get a 7-day free trial by visiting theathletic.co.uk/Tifo Football and get 50% off if you sign up for an annual subscription. To support Tifo, support The Athletic. Thanks for watching.